Hey guys, MJ675 here, and today I am bringing you guys a new video in which today we will be talking about the new Rebel pilot helmets. As you can see, I have one of each variant on the screen for you now. This one here on what I believe is your left is the newer version, which is available in the newly released X-Wing set, which I do have a review on if you want to go watch that. And the one here on that I believe is on your right, or right here, is the older version of the Rebel pilot helmet in one of the, what I believe to be one of the newer figures. And as you can see, the torso prints and leg prints actually are pretty similar between these two figures. So today I'm going to be comparing these two helmets, like I said, to figure out which one, at least in my opinion, is the better of the two. And to go about doing this, we are going to have a very nice pro versus con battle here. So the way this is going to work is I'm going to look at each one, figure out some pros about it, and look at some ones and figure out some pros about it, and maybe some cons for each as well. And these pros and cons may be factual, like quantity of available, or they may be my opinion, like maybe the size of the helmet, for example. And once we have talked about both helmets, I'll look at the two together against each other and pick which one I think is the better of the two designs. So let's get into it, starting right here on the right with the older helmet design. So this is the previous helmet design, and is the one that we have had for the entirety of LEGO Star Wars up until this point. So the first pro is quantity of these helmets. If you're going to be building an army of Rebel pilots, then this is the helmet you're going to be able to get a lot of. I have a few of the different various flavors of this helmet that have come out over the years right here. You can see this one, which is in gray. We got this one, which is also in white but is different printing. And we have this one, which is from one of the newer pilots from the Rogue One sets, I believe. So a lot of different variants in that, and you can definitely get a wide varied army with some nice consistency with those. Another thing that I do like about these is that they do not have the visor on them, and they make you put them on the face, which could be bad for making custom pilots, but is good in the case of maybe you want to, maybe you just want to use this somewhere else where necessarily the visor isn't applicable. And that's good and all, but for Star Wars, the visor not being there, isn't the best. But also another thing that I do like about these is the size. I think the size is a bit better as far as how it looks on the minifigures. And maybe it's just time that this new design hasn't sunk in yet, but I think that this design, at least size-wise, looks a bit better to me personally. Just taking a quick look at these helmet designs right here, you can just kind of see. One con that I will bring up about the old helmet design is that if you did have another face on the back of your pilot, like in this pilot's case right here, you can see there's an alternate face here, so that you can see the back of the alternate face through the bottom of the helmet, and that's not very cool. But pretty much that wraps up the original helmet. The pros about that is that it's smaller, it has a slightly more versatile piece without the visor being molded in, and there are more various colors and flavors of this piece available. So if you're building a bigger army, then maybe you want to have a bunch of Rebel pilots and stuff, or figures that use this specific helmet design, then this is probably going to be the one that you're going to go for if you want consistency. So now moving on to the newer helmet design, which is the one right here. Pros about this, it does have the integrated visor, which, like I mentioned, could be a pro or con depending on what you're doing with this, but I do think that the integrated visor is pretty neat. And taking a look at the back here, I would say that this is a pro that it covers the back of any extra face, but it's kind of a given. It's a con here, so it's a pro here that it does that. Looking at the printing, you do have a lot more space due to its size for printing, which is another good thing, but you also, because of that size, the size also looks a bit weird. And as you can see here, just looking at the size comparison between these two helmets, this is a much smaller piece and this is a much larger piece, which could be good for some applications, but I prefer the smaller size. Another con for this thing is the amount of sets and flavors you can get this thing, and you can only get this in one set currently at the time of making this video, which is the new X-Wing. This is the only other figure that has the helmet, which is Luke, in case you're wondering, and the figure I'm using is Biggs Darklighter here for this kind of sample here. And that really hinders these pieces. If you're going to be making a large army, I say that these two look really out of place next to each other. Not saying that one looks more in place, which is entirely your opinion, but these two do not look very similar at all, and you cannot really build an army with the figures currently available with these helmets. I guess another pro about the visor being on here is that if you are to, and I just lost his blaster, which is fine, I'll get it later. If you remove this, you can obviously see that the visor is molded in there. But this allows for more customization of your pilots. If you want to have different pilots with different regular faces that you have, you don't need to worry about the visor being pre-printed on if you care that much, because the visor is already built into the piece right here. So that is definitely a pro for this model of the visor and helmet piece. So I think that about wraps up these two pilot helmet builds or molds here. Kind of in summary, my favorite things about the older design are their size, their quantity of different helmets available, and that there are more versatile pieces, and to me at least look a bit more proper. And as far as the newer helmet goes, I like the built-in visor. I do like the more detail and a bit more space for detail. However, that does come with a few problems, like the size looking a bit weird, which is also caused in part by the visor. But the size looks a bit weird, and they just make the heads look way too big in my opinion. Even if this helmet is more accurate to the movies, which I believe that the newer one is, I think it's still way too big. So if I had to choose one of these two helmets, I think purely based on movie accuracy, the newer helmet's your go-to. Might look a bit weird as far as the whole size goes, especially comparing these two helmets. I mean, look at that, my goodness. The size difference is staggering between these two molds. But it also does have the molded-in visor, which is something that I would think would be more movie accurate, even though these have printed visors on them. And pretty much all the figures that I have here, which aren't all the ones that I have, but I do have these 3 in addition out, all have the printed visors, and some of the older figures didn't even have the printing for the visor on their heads, so that's definitely going to be a win for the newer helmet design. But as far as building an army goes, which is probably the thing that most people are going to be doing, there's some people that care about movie accuracy, but I don't really care too much about movie accuracy as long as it's not horribly inaccurate, which neither of these designs are horribly inaccurate to the movie in my opinion. But as far as army building goes, I would pick the older helmet design here. There are more of these available. They are more versatile pieces due to there not being the visor, and there are also different colors available because the new helmet piece, while it's cool and all for movie accuracy and having that built-in visor, there are only 2 different versions of that piece available. The one on the screen now and the one that is on Luke, which is right here. So there are only 2 of these available right now of different ones, but these, I have 4 just sitting out here on the table right now with me. And I have quite a few more in my minifigure drawer, but I am not going to waste a bunch of time to pull them out just to show them to you. I think 4 is enough, you get the idea. There are quite a few more designs of the older helmet, and that's something that will probably change with time as LEGO continues to produce Star Wars sets. I'm sure that we'll see more different variants of this helmet piece as time progresses. But for now, when this comparison is being made, there are significantly more versions of the older Rebel pilot helmet available than the newer Rebel pilot helmet. So obviously, we're not going to be getting the old one back, but I still do think it's worth looking at these two side by side to see how they stack up to each other and what the potential benefits and negatives are of each helmet design. So in summary of my thoughts, if you were trying to build an army, go with the old helmet design. It will make your army look much better. There are many more figures that use them, not only in white but in other colors as well as a lot more prints and other things on them. So as far as the sheer quantity goes, the old one is your winner here, as well as the size as well, which is a big factor, at least for me, in these two helmets. However, if you're looking for movie accuracy, having the built-in visor is really nice. So this new helmet's probably going to be your go-to right here if you're looking for a lot of specifically more movie accurate pieces. But if you don't care too much, I would definitely recommend the older one, even though the newer one is the one we're probably going to be getting from here on out. So I think that about wraps up my comparison of these two helmets. Let me know what you think of these helmets in the comments section down below. Overall, the winner, at least in my opinion, is the older helmet, but that will probably change with time as more of these newer helmets do come out with different variants. But for now, I think that the older helmet has an edge, not only in its quantity and variety, but also in its size and appearance, because, let's be honest, the new helmet, at least in my opinion, makes this headpiece look way too big. The LEGO figures are already a bit out of proportion as they are to regular humans, but this new helmet piece really isn't helping. So I think that about wraps up everything that I have to say. If If you're looking to build an army, I'd recommend the older helmet, but if you're looking for more movie accuracy, then I'd go for the newer one, even though it's slightly bigger. But that is it for this video. Once again, let me know what you guys think of this down in the comment section below. I might put a poll up on the screen for you guys to answer what you think about this new helmet. In my opinion right now, I favor the older design, but that will probably change as more of these newer helmets come out on more figures. But yeah, once again, let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. The third time I'm saying this. That's it for this video. Thank you guys all so much for watching. Check out my review of the new X-Wing if you haven't. If you want to see these figures in these new helmets in more detail on the figures, even though this is the video that I kind of said I would talk about the helmets in more detail in, but you know, whatever. If you want to see both the new figures and the new X-Wing and all that stuff, go watch my review. But other than that, thank you guys all so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.